participants who are here today. I'm happy to be here at this summer school. I was at the last two summer schools that were held in the past, and this framework has always been the means by which I started my journey to in digital humanities just in 2017. And so it's interesting to be part of this as well as contributing to the discourse. My own background is actually in philosophy, and I venture into digital humanities, and I'm working on my project is on computer tools or computational tools that are used for textual analysis in the humanities. And basically, I look at the theoretical as well as a practical dimension. And today, for the sake of this particular workshop, it's supposed to be both practical and theoretical. So Felix is with me on the other side, such that after this workshop, you can meet Felix of Anchor University. He has the softwares and he has some of the other things you may request from, and he can also add you to the Google Classrooms so that we can continue the conversation and the experimentation for the practical side. And we know that today's presentation is we have multilinguistic framework. So we have people from Francophone country. So for this presentation, we also have Mukile Kasongo, who is a PhD researcher at the University of Birmingham in translation studies. So after running some slides, it's just going to give a summary, and sometimes you can also have questions and other things into the chat, which you will be able to translate and get to bring to a friend. So what we want to do today is actually to look at the theories. But the theories, when we talk about theories of digital humanities, what comes to my mind is whose theory? Is it the Western theory? Is it the African theory of digital humanities? And we know that some of the forerunning scholars in digital humanity in Africa and diaspora came up with this book, The Digital Black Atlantic, and they're able to get that book. It's a very good book for you to hold on to. It can give you some kind of what other people have been doing in kind of digital humanities that address concerns and issues in Africa. And then, from the introduction, I said that the aspects that we focused on for this discussion will not be all the theories of all approaches in the digital humanities. It will just be on literary scholarship in digital humanities. And then we look at some of the theories and the conversation theory, look at the two-base text analysis, and then we take Voyant. Voyant is it's even though it's a tool, but it's a collection of tools. And don't underestimate it. What some people will do with programming language is what you can also do with it. And it's good for you to be able to start up with this so that you can be able to publish papers and you can be able to have standard works that you said this is a digital humanity research. And then Professor Meno has spoken to the whole algorithm-based textual analysis. And then, this is an introductory part. So we have other presenters in the course of this summer school who are going to address Python, who are going to address R, who are going to go into some of this programming. And don't be scared, because they are just simple. They're just like A, B, C, and you can pick that up. And don't look at those who have gone far in their computational stylistics and all these things and let that. There are simple things you can do, and I will show you some of them to be able to have what we call it. And I will encourage you that as you're noting down, be prepared to immerse yourself, because this thing is a trend. Immerse yourself and get your hands dirty. Don't think that you have to just do some professional thing or build a powerful archives. Those things are good, but start somewhere, no matter how small. And then the introductory part, we look at what DH is. A lot of people have been talking about what DH is. A very good presentation was given by Professor Evelyn, that was yesterday. But Matthew Kitchenberg's definition, actually addressed some of the concerns that we may have as digital humanity practitioners in Africa. So DH for him is not, and this is a general definition because he actually picked this from Google, Wikipedia, which seems to be a consensus, and you can find this in the popular book, Debates in Digital Humanities, which has 2012, 2016, and 2019. It's a good book you need to get to actually kickstart and know what is going on. This definition makes us realize that it's not just about hacking or talking about those who are coding, but those who are yakking. That's where we come up with the term hack and yak. You can be in digital humanity and be in the talking side, in the discursive side, in the what we can say. You don't need to start analyzing things to actually. And in part of the definition, it talks about it involves investigation, analysis, synthesis, and presentation of information in electronic form. And the beauty is, it's all about intersection between computing and discipline in the humanities. And you see someone in philosophy like myself engaging in a post-phenomenological analysis of computational tool. That's a research in digital humanity. And we have frameworks like that. So think about your discipline as we are having this discussion and say, where do I come in? If I don't want to go into coding, which aspect do I want to come in? And you know, the term yak, those who are talking about it, they are also practicing digital humanities. From the Black Atlantic, you can, as I've made mention of, and from other discussion, and as you will see throughout this summer school, you see that some people who are digital humanities are in part of archives, some are in cultural analytics, text mining, and analysis and visualization, which is my own area, and analysis of macroscopic trend in cultural change and online publication. These can be theoretical, it can be practical. So you can address what they are saying theoretically, and you can also engage in working with couples or going to create sophisticated archives with some odd tools like WordPress, Drupal, and others, and other content management. And the other thing is this, that I found when we talk about digital humanity practices for us in Africa, in this engagement with the yak and the hack. You know, Sonia Donaldson in the Black Atlantic, in her own paper, talks about the aspect of research that Black people, especially people in Africa and other people too in diaspora, what they are doing is more or less like recovery. We have a lot of things, you know, they say our ancestors did not write because they don't have literary tradition, but we're in digital age. And there are a lot of things that we need to bring into the digital space. And it's a digital humanity work to which you can look at the technology of recovery. But this is just to show you part of it. You can see that of Chow. She's doing a very brilliant work in trying to do archives and museums of colonialism. And some people are working on other aspects. And then, you know, in textual analysis and visualization, I've heard some people worried about, you know, there's no data. Where do we get data that we're going to use? You know, where do we scan? There are a lot of things online. Even I got couples of Yoruba language online, and then you can check on GitHub. Ifra is doing a good job too. And part of the couples that I will send into the Google Classroom were actually obtained from the Ifra database. And when you check the Ifra database, they try to mine a lot of things and provide digital data of experiences and things going on in Nigeria. And then you can use it to talk about anything you want to talk about and analyze. You know, this also on GitHub. You can set GitHub. This GitHub is where programmers and developers also release their data and codes. And these are reusable. So some of this, if you check GitHub based on what you are looking for, this is an example where you can get some of the Yoruba Bible, all sorts of other things, Pidgin and old books and all sorts of things. And this will provide you with the resources. Because when you are doing digital humanities, your raw material is not the books in the library alone. You know, like I use alone, the books in the library matter. But now you're going to the digital space, so you need the digitized copy, or what we can say the born digital. And then you can see this wonderful project too. And I think that is enough for the introduction, because that's not what we. And then in the course of this summer school, you engage with other big scholars who are specialized in all this. So let's go to literary scholarship in the humanities. Questions have been coming up with regards to, you know, what are we actually doing when we are doing digital humanities? And you know, can we actually achieve that? These are questions that has also been asked at the beginning by even the forerunning scholars in digital humanity. And textual analysis, like I said, the text you are going to deal with will be corpora or things you mine from the internet or other people have mined. Don't forget one important thing. The computer will not be the one to be the principal agent. You are still the principal agent. So, you know, the fact that you take a particular corpus and you put it into a tool and you think you have done a digital humanity project, that does not solve the thing. You have to look at the methodology in your discipline and try to see how you integrate these computational tools into that methodology you have. And I will show you some of the methods that you can use in engaging and in publishing papers after you have done your analysis. When you call yourself a digital humanist, that means that means some people are traditional humanists, and that could be, we can say they are traditional. That can be a little bit demeaning to some people, to feel that, or to be a traditional practitioner in digital humanity, or to be a traditional practitioner in humanities, is like you are inferior to the digital humanities scholars. You are not. And it's not a trend that is a must, that must be. It's an addition, because they practiced before. And even when programmers and developers who are coming to the field of digital humanities, you know, starting from the time of when the field is known as humanity computing, when they come on board, they need you as an humanist, because the essence is interpretation. And that's what we do in the humanities in virtually all the fields, in anthropology, in philosophy, in literature, in history. It's all about interpretation, human experiences. And when we do that with the traditional practice, which is often referred to under the approaches to digital humanities as well as in textual analysis, is often referred to as close reading. You know, so when you do that, you will to a great extent realize that what you were doing before is that you read to interpret. And what the tools will do for you is to help you in the reading, but it's not to replace the traditional method. I will stop at this point so that the francophone people can have a brief hint. Please, Mukile, come in.
OK, merci beaucoup. Donc, nous allons commencer la discussion pour parler des théories dans les sciences, dans les humanités numériques. Notre discussion se portera plus dans le domaine littéraire. En général, les humanités numériques, c'est un domaine d'études, de recherche, d'enseignement qui s'intéresse à l'intersection des sciences humaines. Et ce qui est important à retenir dans les humanités numériques, c'est le caractère transdisciplinaire, c'est-à-dire que ça réunit beaucoup de disciplines en même temps. Et les études en général se font dans les domaines suivants, les archives numériques, les analyses entre différentes cultures, la visualisation des données, et l'analyse des tendances macroscopiques et la publication en ligne. Aussi, qu'est-ce qu'on entend par texte dans les sciences numériques? Par texte, on comprend les œuvres écrites qui peuvent être imprimées ou numérisées ou digitalisées. Un facteur important, c'est l'aspect humain, c'est-à-dire que les outils informatiques nous aident à conduire nos recherches, mais l'interprétation, ça reste du point de vue du chercheur lui-même. Donc, l'aspect humain est très important, malgré qu'on utilise les outils informatiques dans la recherche. Merci. Over to you, Augustine.
Thank you so much, Mukile. So we go to the second aspect, which is approaches in digital humanities. And I was talking about traditional humanists and the digital humanities, the contrast. And what you have been doing before in the humanities, which can be referred to as close reading, and what we are being asked to do in textual analysis or using computers to engage with textual tools, which can be referred to as distant reading. Now, this term close reading can be a little bit misleading, but it's open to debate. It's something we can, who is doing a close reading? By close reading, you prefer you go to the library, you take the book, you annotate, you write by the side, you put it, you jot, you put them aside, you compare with other texts, and then you arrive at it. Then what are the digital humanists doing when they are doing textual analysis or using any of those? Are they doing something different from this, or they are adding to this? This is open to debate. The word distant reading actually has many representations depending on the scholar that is involved. You know, for the first person who introduced the thing in a controversial way was Franco Moretti. He called this distant reading. That's they want to separate it from the traditional humanist way of reading. And then Matthew Joker will call it macro analysis. You know, and this Ted Underwood, we call it algorithm criticism, or call it distant horizon. You know, and all this are saying the same thing. And then you will have seen some people talking about a distant reading of Chinua Achebe, a distant reading of a particular historical book, a distant reading of that. You know, and it can be an approach, but how do we engage in that? Because distant reading summarize or point to what we can say computational textual analysis. This does not start with those forerunning scholars. Father Roberto Busa has been accounted as the historical person who we can say is the father of even digital humanity or textual analysis in this. And there is a particular book for those who are in theology called Summa Theology, which has 3 parts, and is a voluminous things like encyclopedia. And as at that time in 1946, he wanted to ensure that he reads everything, he provide annotation for it, and words and things that people want to access. But in this case, you will see he used a lot of human beings because the level of computational method were not available. So, but what he was able to achieve, maybe for months, you can achieve it in few minutes with tools as well as computer programming language. Susan Oki too, you have to look for some of her books as early as 1985. She has started that too. And these are scholars in humanities who are looking at advanced way to be able to embark in their field and to expand the scope. The same thing with Joseph Wizenboam. And I will emphasize, or I will make reference to Franco Moretti. You can see how you apply whatever they are doing. These are European scholars. You can see how you apply it to the context of your own research when you want to do distant reading to augment close reading. Like Franco Moretti, for instance, in the book called Graph, Maps, and Tree, you know, in that book, he tried to provide abstract models. And that's one of the things you can do. Abstract models. You look at the voluminous literature. So we talk about novels written from, let's say, 1960 to 2020. You want to work on them. And then you want to look at the themes across them. Or you want to look at the gender, the role of gender across it. When you have it as a text or in form of a digital form, you can engage with it with simple tools and arrive at some of this visualization that Franco Moretti did. For Matthew Joker, you know, as I explained initially, he called macro analysis. That the distant reading approach or the use of computational method only allow us to read voluminous text and to see patterns. And I will show some of that even using simple tools. And Ted Underwood, we talk about distant reading could even be could be referred to as close reading or assisting close reading, in such a way that you have the text open to you, and then you read the text, you are familiar with the text, you put the text into Voyant 2, for instance, or AntConc, or you engage with it with Python after this summer school, which you'll be equipped with that by some of the facilitators who are handling that. And then you will see more, like the telescope of Galileo. Galileo's telescope was able to see deep into the sky. So what we can see when you engage, for instance, you use PDF, you use Excel, you use XPSS. Some of us are already using those tools. We are not new to computer. I'm very sure of that as experts and scholars. But the thing is this, those tools, do they allow you to go see deeper? For instance, to break down those texts into phrases, into sentences, to accurately get the number of times a particular character was mentioned, you know, to see biases that are inherent in text that you study. And these are some of the things that the tools you'll be exposed to will enable you. Now, DH methodology is important because when for instance, conferences are coming, you want to submit papers and you have started engaging with some of these tools, it's important that you be able to acknowledge the method you are using. You know, is it, are you doing text mining? So you can say text mining of so thing, the colonial discourse. A text mining, you can look at the newspapers in the archives and you can go and scan them and do a text mining of them and make them available. And that's also a research and whatever you come up with. Social network analysis, you'll have heard Professor Meno talking about that, you know, which is strategy to look at social structure within text, keyword-based analysis, narrative analysis. I will make the slides available because I put examples of people's publication that you can look at the model in which they're able to enable to do theirs and do the same thing for your own data and the research question you have and be able to say, this is the method I'm using. Map analysis, you know, in such a way that you're able to see characters embedded. You want to look at relationships that exist, you know, semiotic analysis. And this varies according to disciplines. So you have to look at experts in your own field. You have to look at where is this applicable to my own field, you know, and then we have linguistic analysis, obviously, for people in language, discourse analysis, and you can see Professor Kwebi and the center's research on that too. Corpus analysis, and, you know, Prof. Meno talk about the corpus linguistics. You know, corpus analysis, it can be associated a little bit with statistical method or social methodology, but these were imported into humanities studies so that people can be able to, and then the last one, which is authorship analysis. In the next session, after the translation from Mukile, I'm going to show you examples of some of these methods. And then we will now go to use Variant tool, which is the simplest tool that you can use, the simplest tool. And then we're going to add that. And then so Mukile will do my colleagues Mukile will do the translation of what I've just explained in the few slides before we move to the next stage. Thank you.
Merci. Donc, dans les sciences numériques, nous avons deux concepts. Il y en a qui parlent de la lecture rapprochée. En anglais, on dit close reading, c'est-à-dire que c'est la méthode traditionnelle qui consiste à aller à la librairie, prendre un livre, le lire, faire des annotations, etc. Et il y a la méthode la lecture à distance. C'est ce que préconisent les spécialistes en sciences, en humanité numérique, qui consiste à utiliser les outils informatiques qui aident à analyser des grandes quantités de données et aussi de donner une image qui est plus globale des œuvres littéraires en question. Et il y a des spécialistes aussi contemporains qui disent que les deux méthodes peuvent être utilisées. Voilà. Et en parlant des méthodologies, dans les sciences, dans les humanités numériques, nous avons plusieurs méthodologies qui peuvent être appliquées selon la recherche ou bien la spécialisation du chercheur lui-même. Donc, il y a l'analyse linguistique, il y a l'exploration de textes, il y a l'analyse des réseaux sociaux, il y a l'analyse basée sur des mots-clés, il y a l'analyse du discours, il y a l'analyse de corpus. Donc, toutes ces méthodes peuvent répondre aux besoins des chercheurs qui travaillent dans les sciences sociales. Merci. Over to you, Augustine.
Thank you very much, Mukile. So now we go to an instantiation of some of those methods that have been mentioned, and I'm going to use one of Franco Moretti's work to show such instance. Franco Moretti wants to look at patterns. In this particular paper, he wants to look at patterns in Shakespeare's work. And the first thing he came up with is an hypothesis. So the hypothesis is that in most of Shakespeare's tragedies, right, there is a pattern in which an initial figure of legitimacy is hosted by an usurper, who in turn is defeated by other second figure of legitimacy. In other words, he's trying to establish that most of Shakespeare's tragedy, a character will emerge and will be in charge, maybe a king or be it, but other characters will stand as antagonists, right? To be able to take over the legitimacy, and that shows the sketch of the entire discourse. And if you see from the visualization, he arrived at looking at some of the novels, the pattern became obvious. And this is what we call plot analysis. So he just is able to say, if this novel, for instance, you will see at the beginning, you will see the character in blue, Lear, who is a king. And then you will see Regan, Conan, Cordia, Gloucester. You see the relationship that exists them, that certain characters work together in challenging the sovereignty of the other, in taking over. And then he found that same pattern across, replicating itself even in Hamlet, and the thing he arrived at is he has provided evidence, a kind of a visual evidence for the claim, for the hypothesis that characters within most of Shakespeare's tragedy, there's always a kind of a struggle for sovereignty, and the pattern is similar across most of the work. This may not be consciously done by Shakespeare, but the thing is this: when Franco Moretti came up with research that shows this visualization and perfect quantification, it gives more evidence than someone who just sit down and said, this is what happens in this novel. And you can do that with Shakespeare. You can do that with any other. You can even do that with a political text to look at the network of relationships. You can do that with various data. Like I did that with corpus generated from what newspapers are saying about Boko Haram and what is happening in the north. And you will see the characters that are coming up on, and the interrelationship that exists within them. And it can reveal. So these are some of the things, from the theory that we have talked about, going deeper, distant horizon, algorithm criticism. And, we have examples, many examples, and you can check that on the Google Classrooms of examples of papers that are available that you can download and look at what they have done. To show this thing in a concrete way, we're going to use Voyantu. And I assume that some of us have it on our system. Some of us are familiar with Voyantu. But how do you use Voyantu to engage with a corpus that you have created, or a corpus that you assemble? And at the beginning of the lecture, I talk about corpus that are available, for instance, on IFRA system, IFRA database, and then you can download, you can scrap from the internet, and generate your own corpus, and you can use existing corpus which are available. Most of this will be posted in the Google Classroom. So after this summary that my colleague will give in French, we go straight into a practical way of looking at Voyantu. And once you observe and you note some things down, you meet Felix, okay? It's going to help you with the installation on your system at your own free time or the time that you are available. And then, you practicalize with the text or the corpus that are available. And once you do something with it, you will see the perspective in which you are going to use it for your own research as an instantiation of two-based textual analysis tool. So please, Mukle, do that and we'll go to that session. Thank you.
OK, en donnant l'exemple de Moretti, il a donné un cas dans la recherche de Moretti qui a pu analyser l'œuvre de Shakespeare, et il a pu déterminer, en utilisant ces outils informatiques, il a pu déterminer, il a formulé son hypothèse d'abord, il a pu analyser l'œuvre de Shakespeare, et a pu voir les connexions qu'il y a entre les personnages dans l'œuvre pour soutenir son hypothèse. Et en faisant ça, la visualisation qu'il a pu, que ces outils lui ont donné, la visualisation et le fait de pouvoir analyser une grande quantité de données. Ça a beaucoup été pour arriver pour écrire son article dans son étude littéraire. Et puis après ça, nous allons aussi utiliser l'outil informatique qu'on appelle Voyant. C'est un outil informatique aussi qui peut aider les chercheurs, pardon. Et c'est un outil que vous pouvez utiliser avec n'importe quel corpus pour pouvoir analyser les détails dans vos recherches. Nous allons, dans la seconde partie, aller dans un autre Zoom meeting où on va démontrer l'utilisation de Voyant. Merci. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mukile. So I know you have been able to open your Voyant too. And so we have the tool, and it was developed by Rockwell and Sinclair, Gregory Rockwell and Sinclair. And the most interesting part of the thing is they also created a repository of methodologies and how you can use those methods along with these tools to generate certain results for your research. And you can get that from what they call the methodical. It's also the portal, the name of the portal, methodical.ca. And then you can be able to see all sorts of tools too on their other repository, which is called TAPO, develop TAPO, where you can see all other tools too. So for Voyant 2, the first thing is this, as we have said, is a tool you don't need to code, you don't need to program. So when you can run it on your system and you can run it online. Sometimes it's good to run it on your system and install it as a server on your system, which Felix is going to help anyone who are approaching for that, so that to avoid network issue that you don't have internet. By default, it has its own, what we can say, it has its own corpus that are available that you can use to experiment. But if you click on upload, you can upload straight into it any corpus you have on your system that you want to use for the research. And then you carry the thing, but ensure that if it's a PDF format, that what you want to analyze is, convert it to text or Microsoft Word. So there are cheap or free tools online which you can use to convert any PDF to Word or text format in order to bring it into the Voyant 2. For the sake of this illustration, I'm going to use the corpus that is already inside Voyant. So by default, we have the collections of Shakespeare's play, for instance, Austen novels, so which you can use to practice on your own, even before engaging with talk. So when you pick the corpus, unlike the same way when you upload your corpus into the Voyant, the first thing is it reviews to you, as it says. It unveils, it reads it, and all sorts of analyses are here. And inside this particular Voyant is not just one tool, it's a collection of two, about 35 of them. And you can use any of them to engage with your text. You can pour any text into it that you are familiar, that you are not familiar, and then you will have, the first thing is you have 5 tools visible to you now. And the first one is the Cyrus tool, which gives you the word cloud. You will have been seeing this. So it's just a matter of people pouring their
Hello, Austin, please share your screen.
Yeah?
Share your screen, please.
You can't see my screen.
No,
exactly.
Please share your screen, please.
I've been sharing since. Can you see this?
Yes, now we can see it.
Oh, so I've explained that, but I will just backspace since I'm running it online. I will just backspace. So you type into your browser Voyant 2, and you can see the link on the chat, and Felix can always give you. So that's when you are running it online. And then I said we're using existing corpus. So the same way you upload your corpus or you use an existing corpus, and then you ask it to review. And this is what you get. And I was talking about the first two, which you have here, which is the Cyrus 2, which gives you the word cloud. You will have been seeing this. So you just want to generate a word cloud, and you want to include it into your text. The word cloud is trying to look at the words that were frequently mentioned and visualize it in this beautiful way. And then you can also manipulate it. You can alter it. You can scale it. So those tools are there. You can scale it. You can search for a particular word you're looking for. Remember that in the theoretical analysis of practices in digital humanities, we talk about close reading and distant reading. For Gregory Rockwell and Sinclair in developing these two, they don't want to separate the corpus from the analysis in such a way that you can be doing the close reading along with whatever you are doing, whatever distant reading you are doing. So you see this middle one, which is the reader's text. It's showing you the exact text that is in the corpus. So whatever changes you are doing, you are still seeing the full text of and that's the reader's too. Then the third one that is visible by default is the trend too. And if you look at this, you can expand it by moving your mouse around that, click on export, and then say open the URL in another view so that that tool alone can show up. That's applicable to all other tools so that you won't squeeze all of them together into that 5 default setting. So you see this. It's saying in all the corpus of Shakespeare's, the novel of about 1 million something words, shall, lord, king, sir, and good were frequently used. And he put them in colors. And he looked at, you will see now, how did it come about this graph? The graph is, it divided the text into equal sizes in such a way that to engage in its search for each of those words across them, the segregation that he has done. So you will see below it is able to say, in this particular novel, this particular word is used like this, but you will see that the word good is used more in Comedy of Error than in the love, than in Love's Labor Lost. So you can see that clearly. And then you can be able to do text comparison. You can do text comparison of words that were used by authors. You can juxtapose corpus, and engage with them. And that is still a valid research. And this thing, you need to code. Some people code and generate this, but you can do that without coding. Let's go to other important tool, which is one of the ones that you would like to use all the time, even with your write-up. Instead of counting words, looking for keywords, or just taking a glance at a text that you have not read. Most texts that I've not read, I just want to see what is inside. I pour that into Voyant 2. And then if you expand the summary tool, you will see that it will give you the summary of the corpus or the text that you have placed there. So it's saying in this case that this corpus has 37 documents with 894,734 words and 25,114 unique words forms. Can a human being do that? Can you start counting? A lot of people were counting in the past anyway, mentioning so number of times Chinua Achebe mentioned in particular words. But you can't do that with a bigger corpus. And that's what this tool has done. Some people can use computer programming language and code it, but you have the result. You have the vocabulary density, you have the distinctive words across each of the text, that you put into that. The next one, which is very important, especially for literary scholars, is you want to look at the context in which a word is used and how those contexts has been used. you will see, for instance, you want to see how certain people use the word black. You know, what were the things associated to African in this particular book or in collections of books? And then you can just type Africa and look at various contexts. So let me expand the context too. And you can use that to engage. All that you just need is to get the digital form of the text. And then you have started your analysis of form of distant reading. So when you see this, for instance, you will see this, this is a context too on its own, separated from the entire collection, open in a new browser. By default, it's showing shall within various contexts. And is there a way I can zoom and enhance this so that it can be more visible? But if it's visible, we continue with that. So if you look at this now, if you drag to the right and the left, you can be able to see the full word if the word is hiding, but you can increase the context and you can search for the particular word. Let's say, for instance, I want to see how Shakespeare has used, let's say, the word love in the novel. So there are different ways you can see it shows love, lovers, and whatever. Which one do you want to pick? Lovely? I say love. So I want to look at the context across all Shakespeare's work in which he has looked, and then you can expand the context here to be able to have full sentence of whatever. So it talks about, it throws this upon this, love to wealth, love to hear, love to, and then this will be more meaningful to you when you are even engaging with the text you are familiar with and looking deeper. And then you see, this is just simple click and it occurs. And if you want to get the full tools that are embedded within the Voyant, you go to the upper region and you click on something that looks like the window tool, the window 7 or whatever, that 4 rectangle. And then you will see them categorized. The corpus view, that's where you have that. But when you talk about the corpus tools, the ones that you use for corpus analysis, those who want to do correlation, those who want to do collocation, those who want to do bubble lines. So whatever you want to do, you click on them and it comes up. One of those tools, it even allows you to look at the geolocations. Where were the places in the text that the author made mention of? Where were the places? So it will take, instead of you using QGIS or using anything, it will identify all the places that were mentioned and the real places on the map. And you do that for a lot of text. You look at, what are the places where they were mentioned, especially historical texts, especially documentaries, especially. So you'll be able to, and it's so interesting, when you put that into that. This is a very large corpus. I don't want that to really waste our time to actually show. And then you will notice that it's not like it works perfectly for every corpus. We have to make mention of that. Because when for instance, you put the corpus of maybe a novel that has, Yoruba words, and they mention places like Yaba, they mention places, if it's not already on the geo mapping and whatever, and by the default, it won't. And that's why when you use tool, it's so good to use tool, but there are times whereby there are limitations. Where you need to engage with it yourself. You need to be the one to give the instruction. What Rockwell and Sinclair have done is they have done the back end and programmed this to be able to do some of all this. And there are more, but Felix is there at the other side. And then I have some videos in the Google Classroom that you can take a look at. Some of the videos breaking down step by step each of these tools and how they were used. And then you can watch them and you can also send questions across, which I'm always available as a force tool. And when you are familiar with this, when you're even using programming language like Python, you will enjoy it because you know what you're looking for and what you want to engage with. So I will stop at this point. My colleague will do the interpretation and then we go to the last phrase of the talk. Thank you. Mukile, please.
OK, oui, un outil important pour les humanistes, pour ceux qui veulent se lancer dans les sciences, les humanités numériques, c'est l'outil qu'on appelle Voyant. Voyant, c'est un outil qui est prêt à utiliser. Ça peut se télécharger Surtout si vous avez des problèmes avec l'Internet, vous pouvez le télécharger sur votre portable, sur votre ordinateur, ou soit vous pouvez l'utiliser en ligne si vous avez une bonne connexion Internet. Et comme mon collègue a déjà souligné, vous pouvez l'utiliser pour visualiser, pour déterminer la fréquence des mots qui sont utilisés dans votre corpus. Vous pouvez télécharger n'importe quel document, vous pouvez analyser le discours, etc. Et ce qui est important aussi pour ceux qui travaillent dans la littérature, ceux qui travaillent dans la littérature, c'est le fait que vous pouvez analyser les mots dans leur contexte. Par exemple, comme l'a montré mon collègue, vous pouvez taper un mot et ça vous dira la fréquence où dans le texte ce mot est repris. Et parmi les méthodes de sciences numériques, il y a une méthode qu'on appelle la géolocation. La géolocation, c'est une fonction dans l'outil voyant qui vous permet de, par un clic, ça vous permet de connaître les mots qui déterminent les lieux dans un corpus, par exemple. Ça donne comme une carte géographique des mots qui sont repris dans le texte. Donc, c'est une très bonne fonction pour utiliser. OK. Merci. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mukile. And I know that Felix will do a very good job at the other side for those who are interested in starting up with Voyantu. For some of those methods that has been discussed. And that's just a brief summary of what we have done. And what I've used it for in my analysis and whatever. And I made mention of the fact that you can also do that with, there's a the Mandala tool for geolocation. But you can do most of all those things with Python, with R2, which will be taught in the course of the summer school by other presenters. This is just an instantiation of using Python to break down Shakespeare's novel, for instance, to sentences. It can break them down to phrases, and Voyant 2 can do that too. It can give you phrases, it can give you within context, it can look at phrases within. And then for your own further studies, because most of all these things are they are based on self-development. You know, this is an addition to what we do in humanities. So you can look at some of the lists of books that are here, which are basically programming tutorials and resources meant for humanists by humanists. So you will see there's the latest one, the latest one by James O'Sullivan. You know, we talk about digital humanities for literary studies. Talk about the method, tools, and practices. Coding for humanists. If you just hold that, that's to 2021. If you hold that one, you are done. You will just be publishing and be following the trend of the discourse. And there are other laboratories which I have to make mention of. These are laboratories in Europe and in America where scholars meet together. So you can also create a sort of lab like that with your colleagues. What we're going to do today is we're going to stay with Voyant 2. We're going to look at a text we are familiar with, and we're going to think along with the tool. We're going to reflect on what it generates. And what they do in those labs is just experiment with text. And you know, some of this lab as humanists who don't even program, and then you can have it in your department or institution with even those in computer science who have learned the skills but need content to be able to bring out whatever. So you see, if you go to the website of Stanford Lib Lab, that's where Moretti was before, Ted Underwood, and you will see the list of their publications, the output from their labs every month during as newsletter. You can download them, go through them, and be able to look at how they engage with theirs and have a structure like that. I'm saying this because I know we have a lot of people in the audience who can start all this up in department and institution. My own advice is this: the way forward is we just need to immerse ourselves and get our hands dirty, as they used to say it. And then thank you very much. Don't forget to have fun and play drums and also enjoy yourself. Thank you. And I think clear we end that. And that's the end of the presentation.
Donc, merci. Il y a, le principe de l'appel tokenisation de la phrase qui vous permet de couper la phrase en des petits mots qui sont essentiels dans l'analyse dans votre analyse du corpus. Et puis, mon collègue a donné aussi des références que vous pouvez lire il y en a beaucoup. Et il y a aussi des laboratoires qu'il a fait mention, des laboratoires de Stanford, Nebraska. C'est des laboratoires qui sont aussi, qui consacrent beaucoup d'efforts et qui font beaucoup de recherches dans le domaine des sciences numériques. Ça pourrait vous intéresser aussi à savoir comment ils sont en train de travailler et peut-être vous pouvez vous inspirer aussi. Et pour terminer, mon collègue a donné un conseil à tout le monde comme on dit en anglais, c'est se salir les mains, c'est-à-dire que non, il vous encourage à vous mettre dans le bain et à pouvoir apprendre cet outil, ce domaine des humanités numériques qui pourra vous assister dans votre domaine à vous aussi. À part ça, ce qui suivra après, on aura des sessions qui vont suivre où notre ami Félix il montrera dans d'autres sessions comment utiliser l'outil voyant que vous avez vu dans la présentation. Merci. Thank you.
Okay. Austin, can you hear us?
I can hear you, Prof.
Okay, so we are going to take the interaction so that we'll be able to engage the students. You've just this is an initiation into tools, theories. And so you have to ask questions. They are there. Okay, Prof.
Austin, thank you very much for creating the time to do this for us. For those who may not know Austin Farinola, he was with us. He was part of the 2018 team, and then now he's at the University of Birmingham doing his PhD in DH. That's the beauty of the kind of thing we are doing here. So now he is over there and is giving back to us. Please, let's give him another round of applause, please. And he's been doing very, very well, very, very well. So, I mean, something you can do. There's no, I think he studied philosophy, his first degree.
Yes, Prof.
So he's doing amazing, amazing thing over there now in the UK. You know, doing a lot of things with DH. It's something you can do. Thank you, Austin. So let me hand over to them.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof.
The background is good. While my Prof, the background is good because some of them are afraid of what to make out of. When you start hearing of Python or maybe serpent, elephant, it becomes a problem. And so I'm sure Austin also heard, I know, like Prof said, he was with us. He actually heard all those things. It didn't scare him away. And so let it not scare you away. And so if you have questions, interaction section is now. Initiation, you will not finish learning Python, or that is a programming language, or even Variant or Antcom in one day. Actually, you learn more if you start using them. You learn more. I know I have done what I call culpability studies in the works of Amadou Nkrumah, where I use one of them to demonstrate the level of guilt Amadou Nkrumah was giving on each character and implicating them in the Ivorian War. No other tool will handle sentiment, emotion analysis like these tools as mentioned. That one thing. So that is how to do it. So it is good you build on whatever by practicing. You understand? He has simplified in French, not because, but next DH summer school, we're going to try to be bilingual. But some of you are in English studies. Yeah? Ibrahima, most of you are in English studies. You have to experiment. You are English, n'est-ce pas? Okay. So we are going to try to see. If you have any question, please. How many questions do we have? You have a question or you have a clarification to seek? Let me see your hands. Not afterthought. It is, yes? Yes? 1, 2. Yes, the other side, I hope if you have question too, we can as well give you opportunity to ask.
Okay. Farinola. Hello.
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, thanks. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Do you want to take all the questions at once, then respond to them, or you want to take them as they come?
That depends on what you think is suitable. I can do
It's
any.
you.
Okay.
You are our facilitator.
For me, I would prefer one after the other, such that people who want to speak in French can speak and my colleague can handle it.
Okay, thank you. So, the hands, where are the hands? Okay. Melody, where's our sanitizer, hand sanitizer?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Farinola, for that beautiful student-friendly presentation. Yeah, I must tell you that I really enjoyed the presentation. But you have given us, or you have shown us how to use, database in literary studies. I have a background in discourse analysis with my area of concentration is on multimodal discourse. So if I want to apply these tools that you have just shown us, which I think Dr. Felix will take up after, how do I apply the tools to visual text? Are you getting me?
Yes, I'm getting you.
So how do I apply these tools that you have taught us to visual text, memes, billboard adverts, political adverts? How do I apply? Thank you.
Hello. Do we need to take it to French? Do we need to take it to French, or I should just take it straight away?
Just take it straight away. That's what you requested.
Okay. Yeah, I was just like my French colleague here. There are picture-to-text apps. And, there was a time I mined Instagram looking at most of what people are putting on the placards when they were doing the Black Lives Matters, all those flyers. So I mined, people posted a lot of pictures on Instagram. And after that, I want the text. I want to know what the people put on the placards they are protesting with. So we have some apps which I'm going to also put in the Google Classroom, but part of them is like FreeOCR and Capture to Text, which is on Windows 10. So these are basic. And then Google has done a very wonderful thing too on that, which you can check. And they are text recognitions. And sometimes they can even tell you what is in a picture. So they look at the picture and say, a man is standing, a man is holding a biro, and some of all this. So, but are they going to be perfect? No, but they're going to help you to do a lot of data, and then you need to correct some of this thing because computer is not that intelligent as we think. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farinola. My question is similar to the last one. I am presently running a research in cognitive science and pragmatics. And when we are talking about cognitive science, we're talking about the brain and cognition. We talk about the mental efforts, and we can combine this with education. Now, I want to understand how I can apply these tools to my work, because I'm into um, cognitive science and pragmatics. We all know pragmatics has to do with the use of language in context. And when you are talking about cognitive science, you are talking about the processes of how we use language. So how do I inculcate all this into these tools that will give me relevant results that I have to use in Africa, in Nigeria precisely, especially in my university that do not really understand digital humanities. So how do I make this work relevant here and now? And how do I make them successful? Thank you.
Farinola, before you take...
Thank you very much for that question.
Please, Farinola.
Hello,
Farinola.
Yes, sir.
No, please, before you answer this question, please,
okay.
For those who are in room 307, please. Okay, you've taken the questions.
Okay. I should go on, sir.
That's what I'm saying, that
okay.
They should unmute himself so that after this, somebody will ask the question in 307.
Okay. So, you know, when you work in cognitive science, from my own understanding, or cognitive studies, it's more or less close to philosophy, because we have issues of brain, issues of mind, issue of consciousness, and others. And you notice that there is a method called sentiment analysis, which is very close to evaluating the sentiment. No matter what people are experiencing, they will put it in words, no matter how they are feeling. So you see the digital humanities coming up in medical humanities too, in the UK, for instance, in which they collect all what patients are saying. And when they say it, I'm having a headache, I'm having this feeling, they collect it and subject it to analysis, how they use words, the negative, the positive words. So, you know, it's not like the computer is going to know their feeling. It's not like the computer is going to know the cognition, but from their words, it's going to ascertain some of others. And, you know, where the corpus comes in is, if you can be able to get in dealing with patients or in dealing with students, their reports, their accounts, whether they say it in words and they record it, you're able to get it to text, you can always subject it to analysis and look for words that express feelings, emotions, and other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Farinola. Thank you. From room 307, please, Felix Okay. Can you unmute yourself and...
Yes, Titilayo Adebayo, University of Lagos. You can go ahead and ask your question. Felix, okay, please take over. Let Titilayo Adebayo, University of Lagos, and then you have Manifi Maxim.
So anybody with a question? Just a minute.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Spade. Good to see you again. I'm doing a research on geographical, physical attributes of the Nigerian National Theatre and that of the Bulgarian Palace of Culture and Sports. In fact, I've been trying to look for a way to put my data in a kind of a diagram form. So I'm actually happy to be here, and I'm hoping that you can give me a kind of a direction on how to do this. All right. I need to repeat myself. My name is Titilayo Adebayo.
Oh,
from University of Lagos. I'm good to see you. I'm happy to see you.
Same here. I'm so happy too. For the
research, I'm very happy to see you in Austin.
I'm happy too.
I'm doing a research on the National Theatre and the Bulgarian Palace of Culture and Sports. And I'm looking at the geographical attributes as well as the physical attributes and the non-physical attributes.
And
I've been trying to find a way to put the information I've gathered so far in some kind of picture as different from words. And I'm hoping this workshop will provide me the opportunity to do that. Maybe you can give me a direction on what to do.
Sorry to be interrupting you. I'm so happy to hear about your research. It's so interesting. That's why I was like, I can't just wait to come in, because you can use QGIS. It's a very easy tool. It's a very easy tool to use, and Felix can help you with the installation of that. QGIS. It's a very, because what you just need to do is, with the data that you have collected, arrange it in Excel or in a CSV format. And then you can upload, if you now have the graph of where you are mapping or where you are talking about. So you can take a picture in a JPEG format. So QGIS can help you to layer the data. It will use the geolocation of those places you have mentioned. It will use it to map it on top of on the map, and you can visualize it. And that's one of the major things that, and I'm so happy because Felix was at the Cambridge training that was just completed, and then he is part of the area that was specialized into. So he can really help you with installation of that, and then we hope to collaborate if there is need for collaboration. Thank you.
Okay. We take the second question. We take the second question from Maxim. That's the University of Yaoundé 1. Manifi Maxim, please, you can go ahead to ask your question. Felix, okay, please set him up with the... Maxim, University of Yaoundé 1, you can go ahead and ask your question. Okay. Yes. You have a question? Okay. Okay. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much. You cited the optical character recognition application that we could use to turn, images. You added another application that I would like to add something. In addition to
is this buoyant?
Austin.
Hello, Prof.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. When you were commenting on the optical character recognition applications, you gave example of the Google Drive, one that we are aware of, and you added another one. That one, I wish you could repeat it for me.
Okay, I will just repeat them, and then I can always also put them in a Google Classroom. We have free OCR, we have capture to text, and we have capture to text. We have English OCR, which you can use on Apple system, but you can use Capture to Test on Windows 10. You can use simple OCR, just check it online and download it. And I must be honest, some of them will get to a point they are not free. That's the price we pay to the developers. But you can always get the trial versions. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, another question. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Napoleon Yabua from Ghana. University, Apia Kente, University of Science, Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development. I would want to know if there is some kind of synergy between Voyant or Python as against systemic functional linguistics. If we can have some kind of connection between how we use Python or Voyant in analyzing text in systemic functional linguistics. Thank you.
Austin.
Thank you for the question.
Okay.
Rockwell answered that question in his book titled Hermeneutical. He was trying to distinguish between what linguistics are doing with corpus and what humanities are doing with corpus. And for him, the linguistics are in search of words, and they are looking at the structure and the forms in words. But the humanities are looking at interpretation of the application of those words. So for instance, if a linguistics takes what we call it, someone in linguistics using the methods that they're already familiar with and they have been doing before digital humanities, if they engage with that, maybe with collections of Shakespeare's play, the person wants to look at words, at interrelations of nouns and other things. But someone in humanities is looking at themes. What was Shakespeare talking about? What's the relationship between Shakespeare discourse and that of Igbo Nurumole? And what makes it classical? What makes that not classical? So the person begin to engage with that in the kind of the way the humanities scholars carry on their duty. It must be noted that Underwood in Distant Horizon make it clear that our practices and our disciplines are still intact. And there is nothing, so you can't say, for instance, now I'm in philosophy and I'm in the Department of English Literature doing a PhD in digital humanities. No matter what I do, I still need to engage in philosophical interpretation of whatever we engage in. So the question of objectivity, the fact that you have shown the picture, does it make it objective? These are questions that comes to mind. The question of machine and the human-person relationship. So these are some of the things. So you bring the dynamics in your discipline and then you bring it on board. But the linguists, you're already in place. The only thing they added to the linguist thing is to bring stylistics, and you can find that in Matthew Joker R programming. Bring stylistics and some other computational methods that are a little bit dominant among computer scientists. Bring it go deeper and into semantic and other forms of analysis you carry out in your discipline. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We take a question from the other room, 307. Manifi Maxim, University of Yaoundé 1. You can go ahead and ask your question. If it's not ready, John Paul, University of Yaoundé 1, you can as well. Room 307, please. Room 307, over to you, Felix, okay?
Okay, thank you for giving me the floor.
Okay.
I'm Maxime Manifi from the University of Yaoundé 1. I would like to know if this Voyant tool is adapted to any language. I mean, for example, for the analysis of African languages test, considering the fact that these languages are not the same structure with the European languages? Or do we need another special effort of localization? I mean, the adaptation of this tool for African languages? That's my question.
A very good question you have asked. And that question is something that even I once developed a paper along that route. And the reviewer, who is the person from Europe, looked at it and I also made mention of that at our Canadian Association conference. And they said that is entrusted to Africans to do. The complexity, where the complex comes is you train the computer to understand a language. Most of this, like French, Russian, German, or some of all the Symboyan too can do that, to understand that, But when you put Yoruba, like for instance, I put a corpus of Yoruba into it. I'm putting a corpus of Yoruba, it's going to have a lot of things to be able to tell you is a noun or is a phrase. It can identify them as words because computer, what this thing turns to is it's based on a model. So we expected when we see what they do in Sinclair in South Africa, they are developing compose, with their natural language. So once we have those things scrapped, so we have a lot of people who are working now on NLP. So it's the basis of the tool is the natural language processing tool. What will make the computer to even understand your language from the machine point of view, to convert the A or the alphabet into the machine language before it begins to interpret, whether with Python or with Voyant. And that is on us. They can't do it for us because they don't even understand the language and they don't understand. But the thing is, how do we arrive at it? People, scholars, a lot of people are coming, and even scholarship, the scholarship are in the forefront for this, which Europe and other people want Africans who are experts in their language. Some colleagues got a grant recently for those who want to use some of it. They are developing the Russia into NLP, and they realized they want other languages too. So we have some colleagues who got the grant in the US, and they were able to say, okay, they want to use EFIC and other things. But the question that comes to mind is, where do you scrap the corpus of some of the existing data? They are available. Like you see, part of the research some colleagues are doing now is you see the Igbo BCBC, Yoruba BBC, and all these other things. This is a means of getting data to actually, so people are talking, people are doing this, people are working, they're assembling it. And when they develop it, if people develop it, if people sponsor and give scholarship for people to develop it, you will pay money to be able to use those tools. And I know that you're going to pay more because it's like we did it for you. But we can do that and people can put that in pipeline. Thank you.
To go and fight with your president to produce money. So, but I'm sure that the Europe, America, they started somewhere and we have started. And how to begin is to begin. So it doesn't matter. We are going to reach there. Okay, we are still waiting for you. John Paul.
Okay. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, good afternoon.
I am Mr. Ndinjo Jean Paul of Yaoundé 1. And the team on which I'm working is the dynamics of communications in the digital world, a socio-linguistical study of behavior on social networks. My hypothesis is the observation of new way of speaking and writing and reacting or social networks above norms, especially on WhatsApp and Facebook that are usual in Africa. And my problem is people are trying to talk at the right and they apply more usage in emoticons involving working with new memory that operates a pretextuality. My first problem is a methodological one. What to use? Social network analysis or discourse analysis in this case, in order to be very relevant in the way I want to work. And also, I have a problem to download my corpus in those social networks, Facebook and WhatsApp. How to apply myself in order to get a certain downloading corpus while trying to work. Thank you very much. My two preoccupations.
Thank you. An interesting research you are working on. And before the end of this summer school, from the outline, because from the outline, we can see 4 running scholars who will actually put you through. Dr. James Yeko is going to work on social media and all these other things. And then you're going to go into simple algorithms. You don't need to write so much. Single algorithms that have been created that you can use to mine from Twitter. So you will just type the code and run it through the Jupyter, and it starts giving you in spreadsheet. So for me as a person, it's not like, it's just simple lines of algorithm. The only thing is, you know, when you talk about WhatsApp, if you publish your work internationally, at the end of the day, it's going to be problematic because you have the license to use people's information on WhatsApp. Do you take permission from each and every one of them? And that is where the ethics come into play. But if it comes to Twitter, Twitter will give you a developer side. You apply for a developer side, they will ask you which research do you want to do. And then they give you the access, then you're able to write simple codes. And at the end of Python and other things, I'm telling you, simple codes you put on your Jupyter, you will get it in spreadsheet. And then you get all the discussion. Like for me, I mined every day, but I don't know what to use it for, but I'm just mining and keeping. But the thing is this, because you have the code, and then you have this, and at the end of this training, you will get that. But be careful with the ethics of your research. Don't engage in, because a lot of things, Africa was exploited in the past, and people were taking pictures, people were treated without rights. But now it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be the one doing that. We should get consent of people. So some people like join WhatsApp group to mine information and join numerous. We have seen that pattern. And they do that with where there is no policies. There are policies here. I can't try anything here. I can't even go on the road and distribute questionnaire. I can't even enter the university and be doing anyhow. You know, but at home, these are things that everyone do and people come around and do too. But the thing is, we should take notice of that, and anyone can work on ethics of social media in Africa. Anyone can work on building frameworks for us to, in such a way that we have policies that governs our activities. Thank you.
Okay, Felix, go ahead and ask the last question from.
I can't even go on the road and distribute questionnaire. I can't even enter the university and be doing it now. You know, but at home, these are things that's every. Okay.
Yes, go ahead. Patrick.
The system is about to shut down. The operator should take note, please.
Patrick Sunday. Okay.
Okay.
Austin, why the we have a question from.
My name is Nicholas Dino. I'm from Mali. My question is, what kind of software or tool can we use for textual analysis in the field of literature? May you name some, or can we download them easily?
Austin, did you get a question?
Can you repeat the question, please?
No, the question is
okay.
Let me go ahead to rephrase. Don't worry. Let me help. It's asking, what are the tools can use in textual analysis, that is in literature? If you know them, can you name them? That's what they're asking.
Well, for me, this is an introductory session. And you can see that you can see that my research is more or less in the department of English literature. So Buoyant is a very good one. Buoyant is a very good one, but I will encourage you to study Python and to study text, NLP using things like TP and Spacey, which are libraries inside Python. And if you can practice that, and I will also send in the Google Classroom a sample of spreadsheet of what you can do. Because what you need to do as someone in literature is you break down the corpus you have to pieces, and then you engage with it. And that can do with textual normalization, tokenizations, and all other forms, which is embedded in Python. And then you can do simple one with what we call it, with Buoyant 2. Buoyant 2 is very important. Don't mind the fact that it has been developed. You don't need to code, but it's important for you as someone in literature.
Sorry, we have to allow you to go for now, but please, you'll be on standby. I will send a message to you because we need to go into practical session before we release our colleagues to go back to the university, because one of the things we want to achieve here is that this put into practice.